Hello, it's me again. In observance of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to kind of share with you an experience I've had. This is ongoing now, but it happened many, many years ago. When I was younger, a lot younger, probably around high school, my mother, younger brother, and I used to have a saying, build a bridge and get over it. And what that pretty much meant was anything that happened or happens to you, you just build a bridge, right? Whatever that bridge may be, whether that's a bridge to sweep it underneath the bridge, a bridge to ignore the situation, whatever that bridge may be, build that bridge and that'll help you get over whatever that thing is. Fast forward to my adult life, I found myself building bridges all the time, a lot. And around 2014, I applied that thought process, or thought I could apply that thought process to a situation that my husband and I found ourselves in. It was a really tough time. There was a lot going on. I have 4 pillars or 5 pillars, which one day I'll explain to you. But I had 4 or 5 pillars. And for me, a couple of those pillars were starting to crumble. One of those pillars is marriage. My relationship with my husband is very, very important to me. We're pretty much best friends. And I noticed that he was not himself. He was going through things. He was missing work, and it was just really getting tough. And there was a point where I kind of gave him an ultimatum and said, something's not right. I don't know what that something is. I am willing to work with you on figuring out what this something is, but you have to admit that something's not right. Shortly after that, he kind of agreed to it, kind of figuring out what that thing is. And I found us a therapist. And I actually found a depression and anxiety support group. Because when we went to see the therapist recommended that he see a psychiatrist. And at that time, he was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. He didn't, went on medications, but we still did the couples therapy, and alongside, in tandem with the seeing the psychiatrist, I think once a week, and the therapist once or twice a week. Then we did the therapy group. The therapy group was very eye-opening for me. I actually no longer say build a bridge and get over it because of the therapy group. When I went to the group, a lot of the people in the group were dealing with anxiety and depression, and the common theme was that they were dealing with it on their own. Their family, their friends had pretty much said, same thing my mom used to say when we were kids, build a bridge and get over it. And listening to their stories really opened my eyes, because it made me realize that there were so many different things that happened in my life that I wasn't dealing with. And it helped my husband realize that, one, he wasn't alone, and two, this was a real thing, right? It wasn't something cardiac. It wasn't something, there was no brain tumor. It wasn't diabetes. It wasn't something that was curable, but it was something that you had to work on every single day. It was something you had to be mindful of. And that brings me back to my dad. After we were going through all this, my dad told me he took mental health days. And that resonated with me, because we don't get told that we need to take mental health days. Like, he would get overwhelmed at work. I can say this now because he's retired. But he would get overwhelmed at work, and he worked with this one company for 40 years. And he would take mental health days. And him saying that to me, my going to the group therapy sessions and the couples therapy with my husband, made me realize that I was not giving myself mental health days. It has a stigma, right? If you have something physical going on where you can get a doctor's note and somebody can say, yes, this is a diagnosis, and it's recognized by the insurance companies, and it's recognized by your employer, and all this stuff, then you feel like you feel validated, right? Because somebody else is saying, yes, this thing that you're encountering and that you're dealing with is a real thing. when you're dealing with mental health, which I think is imperative, right? You need to have your mental health. You need to be mentally healthy before you can do anything else. Because your mental health and your spiritual health lead into your physical and your emotional health. If you're not mentally healthy, all of that other stuff falls by the wayside. And so, anyway, we went on this journey, and my husband now does not consider himself free from anxiety and depression. As a matter of fact, he still encounters it. But now, because I journeyed with him on that process, I check in with him. You know, when I recognize that there are behaviors and I see things happening, I'll say, "Hey, babe, how's it going? You want to talk? Are you stressed out? How do you feel when crap hits the fan in our life?" He's the first one. I check in on him. How are you doing with this? Do you need time to digest this, to work your way through this? And I no longer say build a bridge and get over it. And so I just wanted to share that we all go through it, right? We all have what I call situational depression. I dealt with it for a while, and fortunately, because my husband had gone through what he went through, he looked at me and was like, you're sliding into a depressive state, and I'm worried about you, and you need to see somebody. And that was empowering for him, right? But also for me, because it made me step back and realize I was sliding into a dark hole, and somebody saw me, and they threw a string or a rope or just came down in that hole with me and said, I'm going to shine some light down here, and I'm going to stay with you until you're able to get out of this. And so that's what we need to do more. I think that's, to me, when it comes to awareness, it's not just talking about, the diagnoses. It's not just, sharing information from organizations. It's also about recognizing that we all can slide into these things, and that if we're checking in on the folks that we love, and we're making sure that they know that they're supported, and we're saying to them, it's okay to take a mental health day. It's okay to say you're overwhelmed with whatever is going on in your life, and you need to take that time. Because if it doesn't, a very wise friend of mine, Harriet Stein, Big Toe in the Water, when we were out the other day, she made a very poignant observation that if we're not mentally healthy, and we say, oh, well, it needs to be physical for me to be able to recognize it, eventually it will manifest itself into something physical. I've had that happen to me. And now I pause. I give myself permission to pause. Thank you, Nikita, for coming up with that and saying yes. We need permission to pause. And so, takeaway, long and short, because this is really long, I apologize. Check in on yourself, check in on your friends, check in on your family, and let's start recognizing that mental health goes along with, or in tandem with, or must be at an optimum level in order for us to enjoy physical, emotional, and spiritual health. I hope that you walk away from this, and when you see somebody who's down or somebody who's going through something, you don't tell them to build a bridge. You say, how can I help you through this process? Do I need to get into this hole with you and shine this light so that I can help you find your way out of this? Wishing you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you again. Just wanted to share that. All right, bye.